in a row. Right here.
Oh, yeah, I see you.
For Eagles fans that don't know your game yet, how would you describe your playing style?
Really just a dog mentality, someone that's going to go in and compete, at a high level. That's someone that's going to play for, one another, my teammates. And then, just going in, the team getting whatever, my all, really, 100%.
Hi. Philly is a real hard city. Tough fans are pretty tough. Are you ready for that? Because they'll let you know exactly how they feel in Philly.
Nah, definitely. I'm ready for the city. I'm ready everything, that comes at me. I'm super excited, to get in the city, and play for the Eagle fans for sure.
How does your game complement Devontae Smith?
I feel like, I go in, they can move me wherever, they need me at. I can run, whatever else they need me. I block for my teammates, and I feel like when I'm just doing that, and he's a great receiver, I feel like compliments well.
Yes, so I just saw the story on Twitter sitting here, actually. They said you thought you were on the phone with the Steelers when the Eagles traded up to take you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely, Pittsburgh called me. I thought they were going to draft me, and then the Eagles called me at the same time, just finding out that they traded up, to get me. So I feel like it was meant to be. I'm super excited that they traded up. So, they gave my all. And I'm super excited to be in Philly.
So there's many top wide receiver talent in the National Football League, like Justin Jefferson, JSN, and a few others. What do you feel like you need to do to create that identity for yourself in the future?
I'm going in, just to be the best, version of myself each and every day. Just making sure, I put in the work, behind closed doors, each and every day, and then just learning, from the vets on the team, just to how to carry myself, as a person and as a player. So just going in there, being myself, and then just learning from, the great vets in the locker room already.
Hello, congratulations. Could you walk us through the moment that you stepped onto that draft stage and what it felt like to shake hands with the commissioner?
It was a true blessing, really. A dream come true ever since, I was like, a little kid. So, it's really a weight lifted off my shoulders, and I'm super excited, to be in this position. I'm super blessed.
Hi, Makai. First off, welcome to the Philadelphia Eagles. Second off, did you have any prior communication with the team, and if so, what did that look like?
Yeah, definitely. I met with them at the Combine. It went great, and then I had a 30 visit with them. It was super genuine. Everything was, cool vibes for sure. And, I'm super glad that, they picked me because, everybody in the building, was great vibes.
Makai, congrats. You talk about being the best version of yourself. What does that look like next year?
I think it's really just capitalizing off every opportunity, that presented my way, making sure that I'm ready for it, each and every day.
Hi, Makai. Congratulations. AP Stedham of AP as we see it. Have you had a chance to speak with Jalen Hurts, and how did being a USC Trojan prepare you for the NFL?
Yeah, no, I haven't spoke to Jalen Hurts. Definitely, soon. But I feel like, they just prepared me, well, as a person and a player too. Just the mentality, to work hard, be selfishness, and then just play for your teammates, the guy next to you. And I feel like I carry those things to the league. I feel like, that made me into the man I am today.
Makai right here. Congratulations, man. Jerry Burton from
Yes,
the Connect
sir.
Sports. Plugged in.
Yes,
Cali
sir.
boys.
Yes,
you
sir.
came out to that Mozzie. Came a long way, man. You said Deshaun Jackson was your favorite player to watch growing up from California. Talk to me about going to the Philadelphia Eagles and being drafted to the organization that drafted him.
Yeah, no, that's truly a blessing, to, what he has done, for the organization, so, just following, in his footsteps, what he did on the field, he was a baller. So, I'm definitely, grateful, to be in a position that I'm at right now.
Congratulations, Makai. Question is, what part of your journey has really prepared you for this moment?
I feel like there wasn't one specific, part of my journey. I feel like it was everything, built up, through all the trials and tribulations. Really made me the man I am. Just making sure that I, work hard, grind for everything that I have, and I feel like that made me who I am today.
Makai, when you had preconceived notions about the Eagles, what did you know about the Eagles just growing up on the outside looking in, about the fan base and the city and the team?
Yeah, I know that they have a strong fan base. They ride or die for their team, so I love that. And then just growing up, seeing the Eagles, on my TV screen, they always winning. It's a great program. They have ballers on the team. Every year. So it's definitely a winning program for sure. So and I'm excited to be a part of that.
Congratulations. I'm Layla Hunter with AP As We See It. What part of your game has improved the most that people really don't see?
I'd probably say just my mentality, really. Just how I approach the game, just being more professional, really. Attacking the film room. So, when I step on the field, I have that edge already, have that step ahead to my opponent. So I feel like just how I approach the game and how I prepare.
Congratulations, Makai. Can we get a Go Birds first?
Yeah, go Birds.
And what are you most excited to learn from Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith on and off the field this season?
Yeah, definitely, on the field, just how they prepare, how they attack the game, how they approach the game. But then, just off the field, how they carry themselves, how to stay in the league, just block out distractions for sure. So I'm glad that I'm coming to a locker room, to learn from those two guys, especially, all the other, vets and other players, in the locker room.
Makai, have you set any goals for right here? Have you set any goals for your rookie season and any expectations?
I think my main goals is really, like I said, just capitalize off every opportunity that presents myself. Whatever the organization, the team needs me to do, just doing it at my best ability, doing it at a high level, really, and just being ready for those opportunities.
Thank you, Makai.
Thank you. Thank you.